Hello folks, Dick Fairburn here. I want to tell you something today that's kind of the end of several months, almost several years of research. And that's how to see the pistol sights better with old eyes that don't like to focus on the front sight anymore. I've come up with some possible solutions and maybe some workarounds. If you're interested in how old eyes can be adapted to work with pistol sights, stick around. I've never been the greatest pistol shot in the world, but I was always way above average. I could clean the course on almost any police qualification course I've had to fire over the years. And I tended to be a little faster. Usually was the first guy to get off a shot when the whistle blew, and first guy done, first guy to reload. As time went on as a young firearms instructor, I eventually figured out why all those old timers kind of shot like this with their head reared back. And they did that because that's what they had to do to get that front sight in focus in their bifocals. Because their old normal vision wouldn't focus in that close anymore. So my scores kind of started to drop. And by the end of my career, I was still pretty darn good to 15 yards, but at 25 yards my group started to open up quite a lot. The glasses I had during those days were actually these, and I have since found out that they were made with rather cheap plastic lenses. There are different grades of plastic lenses. The more you pay, the better they are. Well, these suckers, to find the sweet spot in that bifocal was tough. In fact, it was almost impossible. So to retain any kind of speed at shooting, what I did finally was to just kind of shoot over, look over my sights. And with my degree of nearsightedness, which I've had all my life, when I did that, the rear sight was in perfect focus. The front sight was fuzzy, the target was fuzzier. I did okay with that to about 15 yard line, but at 25 yards everything started to fall apart. So I have tried a number of things over the years to adapt my old eyes to the pistol sights, and I can't tell you how many other shooters out there have told me the same thing. Boy, when I hit about 40, 45, 50, 55 in there somewhere, I just couldn't get those sights focused the way I wanted them to. Okay? So I've come up with 4 different ways to shoot. The first was look over my glasses, see if the rear sight, if the sights at all, one of the sights or the other, is in good focus. And of course that's going to depend on your personal prescription, your degree of not perfect vision. That can work, but it wasn't my best choice. A number of years ago, I asked the eye doctor one time, I took a plastic training pistol in with me and pulled it out of my briefcase and said, I need to focus right there. Is there a way you can put a bifocal spot up in the top corner of my right lens so that I can kind of tuck that down, use that bifocal spot, and focus on that thing right there? And at the time, the technology in lens making, he didn't think could do that. So a few months ago, I'm in for my annual eye checkup, and I said, hey doc, has technology changed? Is there a way to put a bifocal spot up there, a closer focused spot that'll get me what I need? So we went out and talked to the optician, the lady who knows all about how to make lenses and the different types of material the lenses are made from. And she said, yeah, we can put one up there. It may not be exactly where you want it. It may not be exactly as small as you want it. And she called them plumber's glasses, because a lot of times plumbers are working down under a sink And they need, instead of bifocals at the bottom, they need a bifocal up at top to focus on whatever it is they're working on. So I had them make a new lens for this set of glasses. This is normal vision in the top and then progressive bifocal down. This is normal vision for the whole lens except a bifocal spot, kind of hard to describe. It's not really in the corner of the eye, it's a little bit farther over, so it's kind of right about in here. And I'll do a close-up of this and show you. It is the exact correction I need to get the pistol sight in focus. And I mean, it is perfect. There is no fussing around. All I got to do is drop my head slightly. I'm looking through that bifocal, and that sucker is razor sharp, like when I was 21 years old. I don't have the lower bifocal because they can't do both. But I find that I don't really need the lower bifocal that much. If I'm reading, especially I read almost every night when I go to bed, if I'm reading in bed, I just take my glasses off, and that happens to be just about perfect reading vision for me with no correction. So I can live without the lower bifocal here, but these glasses, as they kind of settle down during the day, as you get sweaty or glasses loosen up as you wear them, then that bifocal spot kept wandering down into my main part of my vision. And so I had this eye seeing normal and this eye seeing that close-up, and they didn't match very well. Now, I have some friends who, when they had LASIK done, and since then some friends who have had cataracts done with those implantable lenses, they have one done for distance for driving and one done for close-up for reading. And one guy I know, instead of the reading distance, he actually got the front pistol sight distance. So the right eye focuses on the front sight of his pistol. The left eye is distance vision. And of course, you know, the reason we can't focus on the front sight as we get older is the lenses in our eye become more rigid. They simply don't have the ability to move in and out and have the range of focus that they did when we're young. There are new implantable lenses for the cataract patients coming online in the next 2 or 3 years that they think will be able to sync with the muscles that move your original lens, and they'll be able to restore you to 18-year-old vision. I'm sure that won't be cheap, and so far I don't have any cataract problems, so that's not an option for me. So as it got older, I looked over my glasses. I then tried this spot, which fixes the problem, but introduces a disparity of focus. Now, my friends that have had one for distance and one for closer, and I asked them, didn't it drive you crazy? And they go, yeah, for a week or two. And then my brain seemed to adapt, and it seems to automatically use the eye it needs to do what the problem is. And most of them are pretty happy with it. But the eye doctors tell me that some people who have had lenses made that way or LASIK done that way can't adapt to it. And that a significant percent of the people, their brain simply goes crazy and they get nauseous with that out of focus problem. And something I forgot to mention, the doctor said, well, gee, I can make you a set of glasses to focus wherever you want. And what he was talking about is, hey, when you go to the pistol range, put on these glasses, your focus will be perfect. Put on your regular ones when you're done. Well, I've known guys that have had custom contacts made or custom lenses made for their glasses for competitive shooting forever. That's an inexpensive solution. Here's the problem. I'm not concerned about competition. I'm concerned about self-defense. When I was a cop, it was an everyday issue. And today, it's still an everyday issue with me as a retired cop who has concealed carry in the whole country because of the federal LEOSA law. So I don't want to be in a tense situation where I have to say, oh, wait a minute, don't shoot me yet because I got to switch my glasses so I got a fair chance of killing your butt. Ah, there we go. All right, bring it. That's not going to work in a self-defense situation. So once the doctor kind of understood that, definitely, you know, he's not a gun guy, he's not a concealed carry devotee. Once he understood that, he goes, okay, I see your problem. You need something for everyday wear that's going to allow you to focus better on the front sight. And of course, you got to educate him a little bit because, well, why don't you focus on the target? Well, that's not the way it works, Doc. You need to focus on the front sight of a pistol, or, for that matter, a rifle. Over the glasses, bifocal spot. Now, if this spot could be moved over a little bit to the left and could be made a little smaller, I think I could adapt to it real well. What I find I have to do is kind of be like those old guys on the range. Now I have to point my nose up a little bit just to get my normal vision in both eyes and wipe out that kind of distracting circle up there. So placement of this, she thinks within a year or two they will probably be able to refine that, make it smaller, move it to the left a little bit farther in the corner. That can be a viable solution, and it might be worth a try. The new custom lens that was made cost me $150. Okay, that's worth it for me to try it out, figure it out if it works for me, and be able to tell you folks if that's an option. It's not an option for me. I'm going to go back. I'm going to have them put the normal lens back, you know, distant vision with bifocal back in these glasses. While I was waiting for this lens to be made, I learned about a whole new solution. I went back to a set that I'd had several years ago, before I really had the bad problem with front sight focus. So I thought the sudden change in my eyes was from aging. But a part of the problem I found out is the kind of material these glasses are made from. Out at the range one day, I'm thinking, well, gee whiz, to get the bifocal in the right spot for the front sight is just there. It's just a little bit. On these, I had to go way up high and still had trouble finding it. But with these, wow, there's the front sight, and now it's in focus. So maybe the sudden change wasn't a dramatic shift in my physical eye makeup, but something to do with these glasses. So I went back to the optician lady. And as soon as she picked them up, and she goes, oh, well, these are very expensive polycarbonate lenses. And she said, I know that because they are thinner. And apparently the cheaper the plastic they use to make lenses, the thicker it will be for your given prescription. The more expensive, high-tech polycarbonate lenses are thinner. They have a different refraction index. And she said what that means is your sweet spot in your bifocal is a lot more forgiving. So you don't have to go to there to get it in focus. You can get it in focus there. Hardly a shift at all from my normal vision. So these almost fixed my problem just by going back a couple generations in the glasses that I had worn. Now, I don't know why these are expensive polycarbonate. They were when I lived in a different city and had a different eye doctor. She said, well, with your retirement program, we usually put you in the less expensive plastic lenses because you don't have to pay as much copay. So there's a possible solution to your problem. If you're willing to pay more for the lenses and get a better grade of polycarbonate, then your bifocal may be much more forgiving and help you get that front sight in focus. Now, when I pick up lever guns or my M4 carbine using iron sights, I notice that these lenses are much better for getting that in focus as well. It's a few more inches out than my front pistol sight, but it helps with that as well. So, this is my second round also of playing with red dot sights. Several years ago, I had Glock ship me a 19 MOS with the optic cut. I called Trijicon and I got an RMR, and at that time there were not a lot of red dots for duty style pistols, and the RMR had the reputation of being the absolute toughest on the market. They would never break. Most of the others, people told me, would probably break. So the larger RMR on a Glock 19, I carried it for several months. I put, I'd say, at least between 600 and 700 rounds through it in training. And I also had Richard Heine Specialty Products. He put a set of his high suppressor height sights that would co-witness with the red dot. And I said, do a lot of people get these? And he said, I'm selling the heck out of them. You won't like them. And so I said, well, why won't I like them? He said, it's just too busy a sight picture. He said, you spent 50 years of your life lining up pistol sights, whether they're in perfect focus or not. Now you've got a red dot there. Your eyes are still going to try to line those damn sights up, and they're going to try to balance and put that red dot right on the top of the front post because they co-witness. And he said, it's going to slow you down. It's going to complicate what you do, and I just don't think you'll like them. He said he had tried them, he didn't like them. Several other older police officers that use his stuff didn't like them. So I tried them. I didn't like them. At first, I was a lot slower, getting the right angle to see that red dot sight. And just as he predicted, my brain, my eyes wanted to line that thing up perfectly. But I fought through it. Two things that I did for drills, and I'm going to show you the drills I did today. I would do groups at 25 yards over a rest to see if it helped group-wise. And then I would do plate work at about 7 to 10 yards. Draw fire 3, draw and fire 6 on plates. So I'm moving between targets, I'm close range, I need to get some speed. I would say at the end of that 600 or 700 rounds, you know, I kind of kept notes each time I went to the range. I'd say at the end of that I was a little bit faster and perhaps a little bit more accurate, especially at the 25-yard line, than I had been with my carry pistol, which was a Colt lightweight Commander in .45. But you know what? If I had put 600 or 700 rounds of intensive practice into that lightweight Commander, I would have been a little bit faster and a little bit more accurate with it. So I really don't think the red dot sight made that much difference for me. But thinking to my M4 carbine, you know, a lot of folks shoot carbines with a fixed front sight, but an optical red dot or an EOTech sight or something like that. I always had a problem with the front sight still sticking up into that sight image on the carbines. So my carbine is set up with fold down sights front and rear. I've just got a slick system. When I bring it up, I've got the red dot and nothing else. And to me, it is more accurate and it is far faster than trying to have that extra sight in the image. So, this is the Leupold Delta Point Micro. It simply replaces the rear sight. You can get them for Glock pistols, or you can get them for the Smith & Wesson M&P semi-autos. So you don't need special cuts. Anybody can get them mounted in there. They look a little odd because the battery compartment hangs off the back. They have a much smaller tube that you look through, so instead of a TV screen with a red dot, you've got a kind of a tube you're looking through, which to me is not as distracting as you might first think. I have to change my grip angle somewhat. I have to deliberately kind of nose this Glock down to get that red dot in the image, and I think that's simply, you know, too many thousands of repetitions with a 1911 with a slightly different grip angle. So the slick slide with nothing to interfere, just a red dot out there, I like it a lot better than the one that has the sights in the way and the co-witness system that's in there. Now, to not have sights, you have to be able to live with the fact what's going to happen if this thing dies. With my carbine, if my red dot goes out, I have all of my optics on the ARs with quick detach mounting systems. So if for some reason that aim point gets wrecked, battery goes dead, it's causing a problem, quick detach, get rid of it, pop up my iron sights, and I'm still in the fight. Well, there's no pop-up iron sights for this. So I've shot it a fair amount with the red dot turned off. And I have found that out to 10 or 15 yards, if you just use this pipe, like kind of a big aperture sight, you can still get pretty well centered hits on a silhouette target. So in the circumstance where this thing goes dead and I have no red dot, it's still usable for self-defense shooting to some degree. So, 4 ways I've found to shoot with my old eyes. Look over the glasses. Pretty good to about 15 yards. Beyond that, things start to fall apart. These glasses with a bifocal on the top cut exactly for what I need to see the front sight on an iron-sighted pistol. It's right there, it's perfect. But it's distracting for normal use. And even with 3 weeks of wear, it just didn't seem to want to work for me. If you can get it to work for you, that's a viable option. More expensive polycarbonate lenses that have a more forgiving bifocal area that will let you get that front sight in focus a little faster, a little easier. So that's a solution as well. Look over, get the thing in the top, get the better quality lenses, or go to a red dot sight. And as I said, red dot, 99.9% of the pistols you see with red dots have sights, and a lot of them have co-witness. I think if you leave the standard height sights so they're not going to co-witness with the dot and you can use them as an emergency backup, might be better. But indeed, those co-witness sights and the red dot just didn't work for me. This, with no sights, does work for me. Will you trust it to work well enough with no backup iron sights? That's a decision you have to make. So I'm going to show you the kind of testing process I went through with these different fixes for old eyes. And we'll shoot some groups and see which ones work better for me at 25. And then I'll do some examples at say the 10-yard line where I'm working on some plates. That's where we're looking for more combat style, close, fast shooting. And that is the vast majority of what you're going to need to do to protect yourself as a police officer, military, concealed carry, or anything else. Now, we know there are exceptions. In Indiana last year, that young man made some 40-yard shots at the food court of a mall and put a stop to an active shooter. That's where that 25 to 50-yard precision needs to come in. I can get it with a red dot. I can probably get it with these better polycarbonate lenses, but by looking over, ain't gonna work. So let's do some pistol shooting and let's see what might work for you. I'd like to take a little time to do a little business. First of all, shameless plug for my book, my second book, Building a Better Gunfighter. I have a number of these in paper copy. They are still available on either eBay or on my website at dickfairburn.com. The first book, Police Rifles, is no longer in print, but both of these will soon be out in an ebook format, so you can pick them up that way. I would also like to ask you to please subscribe, ring the little notification bell, and if you like what I'm doing here, give me a thumbs up. That's what helps grow this channel. That's what helps develop more content for you that are interested in what I want to do.